I am seeking a solution in this context. Because the family says we cannot take him to court because omwami mujja kumuswaza. You understand? And we all gave up on that. And the man is doing well. He's taking care of these other children. They go to the most expensive schools in this town, Kampala. These other 3 children, where the mother passed. And they were actually, they never used to fight, never had any issues. The woman just heard that this man has another woman somewhere in Kenya. The shock was too much for her. And she died. So in that context, what do we do?
Okay, Godfrey, kindly respond to this in English, please, so that we can have a global perspective.
Akati ndakuddamu muganda wange.
Godfrey, please respond in English, please.
Ndakuddamu muganda wange. If at that point, you know, if I might also ask you, Eva, what would you have done? Can you take someone to court for not loving their children? Eva, Chisoboka, you are talking about love. We are not talking about. Mwami Kasinji,
Yes.
musango gye guli mu kooti ogwo. Nti osobola otwala omwana omuntu mu kooti olw'obutabaagala era definition ebeera eti eyo sima. Agenze?
I think I found it dropped off, yes.
Mwami mugumya waali mulabyeyo sinya habati. Omusango ogwo gye guli. We are talking about love. We are not talking about providing. We are talking about love. Ekibuzo kyambuziza.
Child neglect is there. I mean,
We are not talking about mukyala gundi sinnayogerako butalabirira njogera ku love. Love would you describe otya nyabo? How do you describe it, Elizabeth?
the problem is you're using Luganda and confusing us. Neglect takes care of you not sharing emotionally, providing
Mwemba siina.
physically protection and all these things. So there could
Mwemba
be a
siina.
case. You don't
Mwemba
have
siina.
love.
Mwemba
Well,
siina.
first
How do you
answer
want
the
it?
longest question, please.
Kitegedde. Mwemba siina ate bwaleeta oluzungu
Is it
ate
me
ne
or we
muntabulira
all
mu
can't
luzungu
hear?
nze mbanyonyola bya Uganda.
Newton, you want to guide this via the law? Can Newton respond to this via the law? Newton,
Andrew,
yes.
Ngende maaso oba ali mu kwogera.
Gena Mas.
Kakati sisuubira nti ojjo osobola okisalira omusango. Love ogyagala otyo oyagala abaana mbabuusebuuse mbasekere twepene buli kadde. How do you want it to do? Ekibuuzo
The thing
ng'ekyo
here, Godfrey, is there are other children in the picture, and you're taking care of these other children, and you show them a lot of affection, but there are these 3 you've adamantly, for lack of a better word, you've chosen not to take care of them because God knows what your wife and you had in the context.
kakati okuddamu ekibuuzo kya mukyala zaalwange bw'otuuka ku seedo kubanga muwuliriza bulungi nnyo ate ayogedde bulungi nnyo. She has taken the burden of this man. She has kugamba ebintu byonna babimukoledde. Ekisigadde kyakubeererawo baana. Okiwulidde? Ekisigadde kyakubeererawo baana. Tewali musango gwe bayinza muvunaana mu kooti kuba teguliiyo. Naye kyensobola okukola kino omuntu bw'atyo nitaka musabira busabizi. Kuba kati ekyo kiri spiritual. Yetaaga kusabira busabizi kubanga bamuwunza ne bamuggyako abaana be. Naye bwe kitaba ekyo kamaliza bano. Naye bwe kitaba ekyo talina musango. Ate n'ekirala kiri kye bamugambye nti omusajja tebamuswaza something like naye kakati lwaki oba omuswaza era in that direction. Lwaki oba omuswaza omusajja? Just do your part. Ebirala bikole bwe bityo. Naye njagala nga sinnamaliriza njagala kukwatako ku mwami Habert mpulira nga mwandinayinza omukisa okutegeeragana naye.
You need to respond in English so that he can hear you better.
Habert said he would.
Mwandinayinza omukisa era
But again, Godfrey, he actually said that you can deal with this conversation either one-on-one or tomorrow in the space.
kubanga
Okay, now if you're going to respond to him, you're going to respond to him in English, and in 2 minutes we have other speakers.
mwami Habert alina ebigambo yakozesa ebitali birungi towards me out of misunderstanding, but I will seek his apology in the DM. He said that I present a picture of an unresponsible father or a man because of my submission right here. And then, this I have to tell you again, for everyone who is listening. Just because there is a narrative that is acceptable, I am not the kind who fancies and who will go with that narrative because that's the acceptable narrative. I gave my submission, 1, on experience, 2, on things, on observation. Things that I've observed that men go through. And I said, and I say it again, and I had the same sentiment that was coming from Elizabeth. And I say it again. What? To tell a man, if you're married, and this is the person you're staying with, like Afandas and Kasinja was saying, that you're married and you're in a relationship, and you know that this is the woman that you've been having sex with. It is understandable. To doubt is to create confusion. But I am talking about a lot of young men who do not stay with the mothers of their children, or they're actually not sure that they are the only ones. We're living in difficult times whereby one girl is having 6 boyfriends, not just having them per se, but actually she's sleeping with them. I am coming from that perspective where one person has 6, and then she comes up tomorrow because you seem to have a financial muscle, and she says that, Bob, you know that I am pregnant? You know that I'm pregnant? Do you expect Bob to just jump in excitement and say, oh, my goodness, you are pregnant. Oh, we are pregnant. Let's move on. Because Bob knows or is aware of your character. Is aware of your character. Well, he also might not be the best character, but he's aware of the best because you're the recipient. Do not expect Bob, and I will not any day come up and say that, Bob, just say yes and move on. No. Because I know the emotional abuse that will come out tomorrow when Bob realizes that all the efforts that he has been putting in do not actually match. He's not the father of the child. That will be something even more disastrous. There are lots and lots of men that take on the category of Bob. Do not, and I want to say it again, Mr. Herbert Mogomia, that I will not be able to support a man to tell them that, and never actually, on my YouTube, I have a recording that teaches young men that when a girl gets pregnant, take care of them. I have a full series on my YouTube that teaches young men from the time woman has gotten pregnant to the child they are going to give birth, from the time, what do you do after they've given birth? Who do you bring in? All that. It's a full series on my YouTube. But at the same time, I also have to flip the other side of the coin to tell and to warn that we're living in hard times. It is very possible that you're getting excited and you're taking issues in your own hands, whereby this person has imposed on you to be the person to take care of these children because he has realized all the other people that she has been sleeping with do not have the financial muscle to do that. Oh, it's you who has been showing excitement to have a child. I say, oh, if it's the one who has been showing excitement to have a child, I will give this responsibility to him. I know. So just because I've said that, Herbert, it doesn't. I'm really hurt by what you said about in your statement. Yes, I'm really hurt. And
Godfrey, let me tell you, you have spoken several times, taking a lot of time explaining your narrative. I have no problem with that. The whole point is that at one point you took us off track. The whole point is we are focusing on taking care of children. Okay?
And I'm still focusing on that one.
No.
I'm still focusing on
you are taking us to relationships.
No, I'm talking about child care. Mr.
So, Godfrey, if you are responding to Herbert, and he's responding to your nerve that was badly beaten or that was hit, my suggestion is that you stay civil, you allow him to speak, and then you can come in. We are not going to allow people to talk over each other. We are civil and we are adults, and we're going to keep it that way. And while he's connecting back, let's hear from Wepukululu Emmanuel. Wepukulu, can you hear me? Emmanuel, can you hear me? Is it his network or is it what?
Because
I think it's his network.
Sorry, the mic.
Okay, he's here. Yes, now you're audible. Share with us your story, Emma.
Okay, I'll make a few comments before I open my submission. I'm a bit saddened by the way Godfrey is taking this discussion. And in my own observation, I do think that we've deviated approximately 70% from what the subject matter would have been. In my additional observation, I do realize that Godfrey is apparently wanting to shove down his opinion into the throats of other discussants, which I find a bit arrogant. We all grow up from different backgrounds. Godfrey says he's a traditional man, and in all the spaces I've attended where he's a speaker, he still emphasizes that he is a traditional man. We respect that. I and 99 other people. However, being a traditional man and you refuse to play your role as a father to the kids that you seared, either from a Muswaswangule or from a beautifully raised lady, makes you a weak traditional man. Godfrey needs to be well aware that we've seen traditional Baganda men who are more traditional than he is, raising kids who are not their biological children, but the kids were seared in the marriage from other men by their wives. But to protect the family image, these men decide to raise children who are not biological, but also to protect the image of their wife or the wives, they stand in and they raise these children. There is no single day for those men whom I know who are raising kids who are not theirs, I've never seen them any single day waking up and they're saying that because the woman went out, committed adultery, became pregnant, and later on he finds out that 1 or 2 or 3 of the children are not his, he entirely abandons to take care of the children who are also biological. So to me, Godfrey, even as you present your case of being a biological, a traditional man, somewhere you're misguided. We need to accept the fact that as men, there is a point where we become misguided. And to me, on a certain aspect, you're misguided. You need to sit down with fellow men like Herbert. There are certain discussions that you need to have. We cannot continue degrading women, calling a lady Mswaswangule, yet that day, when you express your feelings for her, she was the most beautiful woman you've ever seen under the sun. So being a traditional man is okay, but it does not give you a ground of refusing to take care of the kids that you shared with a woman, whether you're still in love with her or whether you parted ways. Let me get back to my submission. Years ago, I married a Muganda lady who is a mixture of Baganda and Banyarwanda, and we had a child. So the child reaches 1 year and a half. We got some misunderstandings. Then she eloped the marriage. But on leaving the marriage, she eloped and moved in with another man who was a childhood lover. But the day she eloped, I didn't know that she was moving in with a man. It was after 2 to 3 months that I realized that she had moved in with another man who equally had other 2 wives already and 4 kids. But before she eloped, she had gone to her village for a function on Boxing Day. It was in December. She went with a child. So she returned on 2nd January of the new year. She gives me a call in the evening. I was in Bunga at a birthday party for one of her business colleagues. So I drove to her shop to pick her up. I did not find the child. So on arrival, and I didn't see the child, the first question I asked was, where is the child? Then she told me she had left the child with her mom in Rengo. I only told her, no, you would have informed me that you're leaving the child there. At least I need to know as the father. So we got home. She slept for a night. Then the second night, then she quit on the marriage. I have grown in a family where I know only one mother, one father. We are 10 children. We've all gone to school. We all work. I don't know the aspect of growing with stepchildren, but my dad has raised cousins and other distant relatives. So as culture would guide, I realized that at that point, I needed to involve adults. What Godfrey would call abazadde basengane bakoja. I spoke to the side of my family, who later realized what had happened. Then I gave them the brief narrative, but that was after a week because my wife then quit on the marriage on a Friday. I went to office actually because I pleaded from morning up to around midday. I didn't see any fruits, and all I told her is, when you're done, you lock up, don't give the keys to the security personnel, kindly give them to our neighbor in the next premises. When I got back home that Friday evening, she had gone with some of the staff in the home. That's when I realized that, okay, love pains so much. But I had to compose myself. Saturday in the morning, straight up, I drove to Rengo to pick up the child. When I reached Rengo, a neighbor to my mother-in-law, the child to a neighbor, told me, no, she had the car coming and she took off with the child. Now, I got so confused to a point that I wondered, how am I going to look for a child in a place that is full of banana plantations? I don't know which route she took. I don't know where she's hiding. I first composed myself. I called one of my best friends. Then we conferenced the auntie to my wife then. She was shocked of the news that their daughter had eloped the marriage and taken off. Since just a few days ago, she had returned from the village after having attended the event. Good enough, I knew where one of the grandmom was staying, so I went there. I found a young man whom I asked where my mother-in-law was, and he directed me somewhere where she was hiding in plantations. I moved there with him. I found the child. I returned with the child to Kampala. At that point, when she eloped, the child was 1 year and a half. It's a boy. When I returned with the boy to Kampala, I spoke to my mom. My mom requested for the child. My mom stays in Mbuya, so I drove the child to my mom. I was so attached to that child. So cases would come in that even in the night when I'm at my premises and I miss the child, even if it was midnight, I would drive to my mom's place. I pick up the child, we drive back home. I altered my work schedule from that time up to today, that on Thursday and Friday, I do not go to office. I'm supposed to give time to the family. It was that situation that provoked me to change my office schedule. Monday, Wednesday, I would work. Thursday, Friday, through the weekend, I would spend time with the child. Fast forward, the child grows up to 5 to 6 years. One morning, I received a call from the police station the one in Chibuye, that is Chibuye police station. And the officer I spoke to tells me that there is a case opened up against me. I stole a child. I was surprised. I asked her, who is the complainant? She gives me the name of the complainant. I told her, okay, I know that's my former wife, but it's a very long story. She wanted me to bring the child to the police station, which I refused. I can never do that. I told her I needed someone to come to the police station. She started getting annoyed. I insisted. I asked for a police summon. The police summon reached my premises after 2 weeks. It was calling me to appear at the police station on a Monday. So I went on a Friday. I met her. She declined to give me audience. So I turned up on a Monday at around 9. I gave my version of the statement. But while I was giving my statement, she was omitting the statement I was providing. So I declined to proceed with the statement until when another senior official told her that the gentleman knows what he's doing. So give him the documents, he will write his own statement and he will sign it, which I did. But on realizing that the officer or the case handling officer under the child and family protection unit, they were bent on one side. The particular lady she was called Lydia. She was bent on one side. When I realized that there was a bend, I personally moved to court. I spoke to the state attorney. I opened up a file under the family division, seeking custody of the child. So by the time I went back to police, I had come with the court documents. So court was calling the file. We moved to Makinde Court. We were assigned His Worship Okipi, a grade 2 magistrate, who started the whole case, listening to the case. Of course, he gave us the opportunity of, let's try to reconcile. But as a man, I will be very open. When it comes to child care, most cases where the husband and the wife have been staying together, when separation comes in, there is a lot of bitterness that ensues. I have had some people say, I will never deny my husband access to the child. I will never deny my wife access to the child. One thing I can tell you at that point, it depends on how you separated. You also never realize, or you never know where the bitterness is going to come from, and you'll just find yourself denying the other partner from accessing the child. For all those years, from 1.5 years to roughly 5, I had implemented a strict policy that Evelyn will never, ever have access to the child. I was so bitter. I was so annoyed. Even that as time passed, the bitterness went, but there is the bit of feeling hard and being proud that I had, that she could not access the child whatsoever. Even when my mom said that I am a woman, I know how it hurts. Even if your child grows to 50 years and he gets a challenge, as a woman, you will feel the labor pains again. Allow Evelyn to see the child. I refused. I am saying this because there is something I would like those who are married, whether you're in the same situation, which is current and you're having misunderstandings, or you're in a relationship, you've not yet got kids, or you have a friend, a cousin, or a relative who is in the same docket. When we moved to court after the years that Evelyn didn't have access to the child, not even an inch, not even hearing the child's voice. When His Worship Okipi told us, move out, first have a discussion, you reach an understanding. It's only when you fail to agree, that's when the full force of court is going to take effect. We moved out. I was quite strict. I simply said she will not have custody of the child, because to me, she was a deadbeat. She eloped with a man. And her position was, she wants to take the child. So I am the one who is supposed to be visiting to see the child. And she wanted that I should be providing child support. When we entered back in court, we were very open. We said we failed to reach an understanding. But even before we came into court, my side of the family, we discussed and we agreed that for the years I've spent with the child, I need to be lenient and allow her to see the child or visit the child, considering she's the biological mom. That will never change. I agreed to that. But she insisted that she wants to take the child. I should be the one to carry out visitation. And I rejected that outrightly. So when we got back to court, she was requested to put in her defense because I was the applicant. When she put in her defense, we were given a date where we got back. So His Worship listened to or read through what each of the parties submitted, because in the actuality of it, when the separation had just occurred and we had moved, I think 3 to 4 months into it, I gave her the child following the request of my mom. She was to spend 2 weeks with the child, but she only spent 3 days and returned the child saying he's too expensive to maintain. So when that child was returned, that was the basis that I stood on, and I declined or I rejected having access to the child up to that point when we got to court. Fast forward, His Worship Okipi gives her only visitation rights twice after every fortnight. The full custody was given to me. Of course, she rejected that. She went and appealed in the next higher court. We entered the appeal process. I put in the counsel. One thing I can boldly tell you that my counsel Diana of Kasibia Ruhanga and co-advocates, she was open to me. We sat down. She told me, Emma, I'll need to be very open with you. The way you run things on the other side of life is different from the way court addresses these matters. I don't want us to reach court at this stage of appeal. Things don't come out as you want them to be, and then you say I never represented you well. Apart from being your lawyer, you're a friend, and your brother to me. When she told me those words, I got a different approach to what child custody and parenting entails, especially when there is a misunderstanding between the two parents. I will emphasize this. You're going to love that man, you're going to love that woman, and he or she will mean everything to you today. But tomorrow morning, you're going to raise up in guns. One of you would want to take out the other, even when you have kids in the picture. When we moved into court, Evelyn is the one who had submitted. I put in my defense. Then we were called in for a rejoinder. She never appeared for the rejoinder. Then there was a date which was set for the ruling, which ruling way judgment. Fast forward, the magistrate said that we would have joint custody. And during school-going days, the child would be with me, and during holidays, he would be with the mother. Then I would meet costs during the time when he's with me. She would meet the costs during the time when he's with her. What court decided was totally different from what I had decided for the years I'd spent with the child when he was 1 year and a half up to the 5 years. I made myself accept what court has had decided. Ideally, actually, I even wanted to go and appeal in a higher court. But then I sat down and asked myself, what is the end game in all this? Do I want to prove that I have a bigger muscle? Do I want to prove that I am more financially able to frustrate her? I personally sat down and I said, I don't think I have time to waste in court anymore. I agreed to what the magistrate said. I got my copies of the court documents and I set the ball rolling. Fast forward, the child, the school term is completed. First term, I think actually it was the end of the year when the ruling was done. So when we started the first term of the new year and it ended, I ideally thought that she would reach out to ask for the child, considering that court had already decided that she was supposed to spend time with the child during the holidays. She has never appeared. From that time up to today, the 10th of February 2024, I don't know how Evelyn looks like. I don't know where she is. She has never called. She has never done anything. Why did I bring this particular scenario? As a man, even if you catch your wife having sex with another man in your own home, but you know very well you have biological children, if you're faint-hearted, you can let her go with the other man, but still play your role of being the father to those children. Meet the financial costs. Meet the education bit. Be there emotionally. As men, money is not everything. These children, whether boy or girl, they need our emotional availability. I would have done the same to refuse to raise the boy, my son Nathan, just because Evelyn eloped with another man after I found out after 3 to 4 months when she had left the marriage. But I stood my position and I said, no, this is my blood. There is no way under the sun I can leave my blood to suffer. These are the things, these are the convictions we need as men. Not standing and we say, I'm a traditional man. The woman is the bad one. The woman is the bad one. Godfrey, I would like to confidently say this as a fellow man. In any marriage where two people have been living together, husband and wife, and they have got a child or children, the blame is never on one person. I later sat down, I figured, and I realized my part of the bargain. The truth is, I was not giving my wife then ample time. Goodness mercy me, I would work. You leave government side, then you move into the private sector and you get home at 2. One day she complained thinking I was having certain women outside. I called her to office. She sat in office up to midnight and she begged to go home. To me, I cannot be proud anymore. I'm a married man at present and I have children. But I have maintained that work schedule that on Thursday and Friday I will not be in office unless there is something so crucial. If I work on the Thursday, on a Friday, I will not be in office through the weekend. But I make sure that I should be home by 4 p.m. because money has a role it plays, but then the availability of the man in the home is also important. So I cannot stand and support your narrative, Godfrey. I listen to you closely where you're saying, no, omusajja watukira okugaana omwana. Oh, by the time the man wakes up and he refuses to take care of a child, there is a reason, and the reason is the woman. Godfrey, you are just inclined on hitting these women hard because you don't believe I don't think you believe that anything good can come out of them. I contributed to my wife then eloping the marriage because I was emotionally not available. But even when her choice of eloping with another man before we discussed about this issue of I not being present, even when that happened, I could not stand on eloping. Then I say, Nathan, you go with your mom. I don't think you're my son. I am not going to take care of you. He has grown into a man right as we speak, and I'm so proud of that. So if there is any man here and you feel that you are doubting the paternity of the children, the retired AIG Piers and Kasinji has been very open. There are legal channels to this. I will boldly tell you that I personally moved to FIDA when my wife then had eloped. Either I am the first man or I am one of the men whom FIDA agreed to represent. If you are the man who is affected, please move to FIDA, explain your ground. FIDA will call your wife or your girlfriend, whatsoever it is, for you to have a dialogue. If she rejects the dialogue, FIDA will issue you a document that you can present to court if your matter reaches court. If you fail to sit down as a man and wife who had sex together, you see had children or you got children, 1 or 2 or 3, and you fail to reach a mutual understanding as a couple, involve the elders. I'm now on the aspect of what a traditional man ought to do. A traditional man should know the avenues within the African traditional society of how to resolve marital conflict or even child conflict. Involve the elders on the side of the lady and on the side of the man. Let the elders sit. They will call you in the meeting. You'll have a discussion. If the elders fail, please proceed to courts of law. Nobody can refuse you from proceeding to courts of law. Let court dictate and let court decide. Okay? I am very positive that there is a resolution to everything that happens in marriage. If there is a conflict, there is a resolution. Okay? If your wife is caught cheating, it does not give you a ground for refusing to take care of the children. If your wife gets you cheating as a man, why is it that you want her to forgive you and she continues raising your children? Why do we shift the guns on the women? Okay, that if you caught the woman cheating, it's easier for you as a man to assume that the children are not yours, and subsequently you refuse to take care of the children. We need to shift from being weak men. Let's now come up and we take the responsibility of our actions. We had sex, we got a child or children. Whether the woman, you later find out she's a night dancer, take care of your children. Whether you wake up, you realize that the woman was a prostitute and you didn't know, take care of your children. Where you wake up, you realize that the family of the woman never loved you in the first instance, take care of your children. If you're doubting paternity, go and do the DNA tests. But do the DNA tests living in fact that you need to protect the identity of this woman you once shared a bed with, a woman you shared organs with, a woman you praised before your friends. That as men, at the end of the day, I cannot support that as a man refuse taking care of the children. We wouldn't be having issues of street children. We wouldn't be having the issues of having kids moving in the neighborhood stealing. You can be present as a father financially. You can be present as a father emotionally. But even when you're providing the money, to you who is listening in and you provide the money, but you don't provide time to bond with the children, the pain will still come back and haunt you. The boy needs your time. The girl needs your time. Somewhere Godfrey said, he made a statement that most men believe in this statement of bwalikula alinonya imunnyonnyole buli kimu ekyali kibaddewo. From my perspective as a man, that kind of thought is a fraudulent kind of thought. Not every instance where this child will grow up and ask you the questions that you'll be in position to explain yourself out of the situation. Their parents, maybe some who are on here, that they realize that the kids grew up and instead hated them so much because of not being available. We cannot stand and revolve around statements that weaken us as men. Let's play our role as men. We are the originators of these children. You sleep with the wife, or you sleep with the girlfriend, or you sleep with someone's daughter. The pregnancy comes out. if you realize that what you only had was infatuation for her, but the pregnancy has come, we are not responsible for taking care of your children. Fellow men who are listening in here. Kyamagero's taxes that he's paying government are meant to come out and help children who have gotten disadvantaged when the parents just died and they have nowhere to run. But if you are a living husband or a living father and you are refusing to take care of the children, I don't think you should be proud of that. I will gladly say if Evelyn gave me a call today, or if she called my mom, or if she called my sister, and she asked to meet the child, I will gladly allow her to meet the child. What happened that time? The exchange of words, the bitterness, the ground of you'll never see the child, you leave instructions here, she appears, arrest her, you do this, do that. That passes. When you move to court, court has a narrative of child's welfare, the interest of the child. You refuse to follow court rules, you're going to be in prison. Please do not say that the judicial system of Uganda is invalid or it's bent to support women. It will support a woman if you refuse to wake up and defend yourself as a man. Put yourself in the shoes of the magistrate or the judge. If you invited somebody, let's put the case of Maulana in context. If it so happens that indeed the matters were at police, then they moved to court and court invited him to put in a defense and he refused to appear. That court case was supposed to be completed such that other cases are handled. What would you have done as a man if you're the presiding magistrate over that matter? Would you tell the woman, no, Maulana has not appeared, so we cannot proceed with this matter? No, court doesn't work that way. If you feel that the person you have children with is treating you unfairly when it comes to you having access to the child or to the children, move to court, apply for joint custody. Because it is not a guarantee that when you apply for full custody, you're going to get the full custody. The interest of court is to strike a balance. The child needs to have access to the father. The child needs to have access to the mother. Just to make this clear, even if the mother to the child is mad, but she does not pose a threat that can harm the child, court will grant access rights. These are things that as men, because we don't spend time in court, we may not understand. Get time, a day off, go to any court, maybe Maki India, whichever family court. Just spend 1 hour or two and attend the court sessions. Acquaint yourself with what happens in the family court. You will understand that there are avenues that listen to your cries as a man, then there are avenues that listen to your cry as a woman. If families have failed to reconcile you, if you fail to reconcile yourselves and agree on the mutual benefit of the child, then court is going to make a decision, which you have to live by. If you refuse to comply, especially for the men, I will still tell you, being dragged to court, and it includes financial assistance, and you refuse, you're going to serve a sentence. I don't think you would want to move down that line. When I made a comment about Maulana's situation, there was a gentleman who responded to the tweet, and he simply said that for him to provide child support and the money he sent to the woman, he rather goes to prison and he serves. I felt so sorry for a lady who would get married to such a fellow man. As a man, the arguments you have with a woman, they have no business to do with the children. Carry your bitterness, carry your pain, but when it comes to the children, protect your children at all costs. Protect their mental aspect, protect their requirements to education, protect their requirements to proper upbringing, which has values. Because when they grow up, you're going to feel proud as a man that you played your role. And with time, even the bitterness you have towards the lady is going to disappear. You'll be very surprised that at an old age, you'll reach a point where you can have a discussion with the woman that you once wanted to blow up because she eloped with a man, because she quit on you, because she told you she no longer has feelings for you. These things evolve. Feelings change like the weather. But your responsibility and a role as a man to take care of the child or the children will never change, provided they are your biological children. To fellow traditional men or modern men, let us not blame the women that they are the ones who are purely responsible. Each time there is a misunderstanding, and then we hide under that disguise that we are not going to take care of the children. I will still say this, Godfrey, I'm not attacking you, but I want to make certain things clear. I don't think for every discussion that ManCave has, that you would need to give an opinion. Like today's discussion, honestly, we went off track. I've never seen ManCave reach this time of the hour. There are certain subjects which need us to address based on experience, people who have experience on the side of the law, people who have experience based on the marriage, and we put aside anything like this is what the traditional values dictate. We are not talking about traditional values. We are talking about people who have moved into first world countries and they have married whites. There is nothing like traditional values of Uganda operating in England. There is nothing like traditional values of Uganda operating in Greater China, operating in Japan. So we must address certain issues, especially that pertain children We need to address them from a global perspective, and we put aside feelings of being traditional here and there. I beg to submit. Over to you, host.
All right. I think. Hello, Emmanuel. Yeah.
Yes, I'm
Yes,
here.
Faisal, we can hear you.
I think he's officer. Yeah. Thank you so much for that submission, Emmanuel. If you guys could just share an emoji, any emoji you could just tap on just to show support for Emmanuel's submission. That was really, really touching. I for one, noted down almost everything you had to say, but because of time, let me just move on to the next speaker, Reverend Nathan. I've kept you on the bench for the longest time today. You will forgive me for that, man of God. But please come in and share your submission.
Well, thank you, Engineer Faisal and the team. Wepukulu Samuel, Emmanuel, that was great, and I believe that you're going through whatever, and you have gone through whatever, and you're fully recovered out of that. That was a great submission. Now, Faisal, I've been on the space, and it has given me an opportunity to listen in and get the different views. I think what all of us have agreed upon in this space is that despite what happens in relationships or marriages, child care and support is not negotiable. It is a non-negotiable. We all agree on that. Whether we have separated, whether it was not love and it was just for pleasure, as long as a child comes in, the welfare of this child is not negotiable at all. Child care and support is not based on emotions. It's not based on how we feel. It's not based on what we believe in. It's not based on how we see things. Child support is child support. Therefore, we ought to do that even if we don't feel like doing so. So that one we have agreed upon it. And number two, we realize that most of the submissions that are happening here point to the fact that there is a fading trend in the structure of the family system. Therefore, one of our takeaway points is that now we ought to deliberately focus on seeing how do we strengthen the family, because all these issues begin at a family level. Maybe the family has separated. Maybe somebody was hurt in their childhood and they're revenging. Maybe somebody has not fully dealt with their emotions and painful experiences. So at the end of the day, it is a family. Therefore, our take home is we ought to deliberately do whatever that we can to strengthen the family, such that the family can be a safe haven for the children to thrive and grow into responsible, well-adjusted adults. Number three, we also, personally, what I'm taking home is the issue of sexual responsibility. I've had a lot of sex. We had sex, and in one or the other, I've picked a point on casual sex. I've picked a point on regular sex. I think one of our goals in ManCave is see that we guide and make sure that we create a society that favors all of us to thrive and reach our maximum potential. Therefore, the issue of sexual responsibility needs to be worked on, because in most of these cases, wars on child support, I'll not take care, I'll not do this, I don't do this. In most cases, it involves some bit of sexual activity, which in most cases may not be as responsible as it should be, because we have values. Going by the traditional values, yes, sex was designed to be in the confines of marriage, in the confines of formal relationships. Sex should be on purpose, that's the traditional way that we call the traditional way, based on religion. All of us in one or the other believe in some sort of religion. Therefore, sex is sacred. I mean, it is a shame on us as a generation to preside over young people, to preside over adults that take sex, as normal. Then I've had also some submissions on, like, a woman comes and tells you that this child belongs to you. Now, my take home is, if you're not ready to take on responsibility, don't have sex. I mean, we have been chatting with Afande Kasinje and posting, or you'll check on our blogs that, use a condom. But now, even a condom, no woman is going to say this pregnancy belongs to you when you've never had an affair with them. Therefore, we should encourage our young men, if you're not ready to take on responsibility, these issues of rights, the right to sex, yes, you have a right to sex, but you cannot take care of responsibility. You cannot talk about rights without talking about responsibility. It is responsibility and roles first before rights come in. So if you cannot take care of the responsibility, please, no sex. Then the other issue is still a take home. We find that in most cases, child support becomes very contentious when children are used as weapons of war. We say that one of our goals at ManCave is to guide. In most cases, when there are disagreements, when there are separations, when there are bitterness, using children as weapons of war is not right, because in most cases children need to be protected and they should be safeguarded at all costs. Children come before all of us, before the two of us, or before the many of us. Children should come first. Therefore, using children as weapons of war is such a danger, and it is derailing our times, pushing us into wars of child support. Like, I'll not support, I'll not do this. Look at the good thing we have talked about both sides. Look at a man saying, I'll not take care of these children because when I don't take care of the children, then I'll punish the lady. Then look at a lady also saying, no, I'll also not take care of my responsibility because I'll need to punish the man. But also, these children are used as a bait. Don't forget that some of these children are used as a bait. We have a saying in the Juakali where we stay that, yes, normally we ask men that, okay, this woman says, please, I need to come to your place to pick school fees. I need to come to your place to pick child support. But the fact is she only coming to pick child support? Is she interested in the child, or she's interested in you as a person? At times it becomes very complicated to also move on, especially when children are involved. So using children as weapons of war should not happen. And as ManCave, we should stand here and say we are not using children as weapons of war. Whether we are separating, whether we are fighting, whether we are disagreeing, we should support children at all costs. The other issue is these children are growing up, and Herbert, Papa Herbert, Papa Kasenje, Andrew have mentioned this over and over. That children are a blessing from the Lord, and the children are the fruits of the womb. If you don't believe this, God gives children to those that He loves. You can never accept this kind of scripture or statement until you go to these fertility centers. That's when you realize that it is a privilege to have a child. Not everybody has a child. And please forgive me, I'm not mocking people that have no children, but it is a blessing, it is a privilege, it is God that gives us children. Therefore, these children are growing. Conflicts end, moments end. Today you don't want to talk to the man, you don't want to talk to the woman. This woman has done this, I don't want to talk to her, I hate her. But as time moves on, time is the best healer, time heals. Men, in most cases, when we don't take care of these children because we hate their moms or because we have got disagreements, remember, children are growing. Children are going to their peak. Some of us have already reached our futures and we are deteriorating. We are on a level of diminishing marginal returns. You get that? So you never know what these children are going to turn into. Therefore, there is a possibility of aging and aging alone. I see Farida Nakas we here. We've already talked about aging on NTV Monster. It is possible that we shall age alone because it is hard. Much as we say, okay, traditionally we say that a parent does not make mistakes. But the fact is, as parents, we make mistakes, and it may be hard for these children to forgive us, however much we preach to them. The issue of when they grow up, they look for me. Don't wait for children to grow up and look for you. It is possible that they will not look for you, or it is possible that you look for them and they will not be available because when they needed you best, you were not there. So it is possible that as men, we are not going to have honorable, peaceful, and graceful aging. Why? Because the people that would support us in old age, and by support, we do not only mean finances. It is possible to be filthy rich, but I mean in old age or in senior age, you need these children. You need people to talk to. You need people to bring to you grandchildren. You need to associate and connect with the young ones. And at an old age, it is your children that are going to be with the young ones. So as it's part of therapy in old age that you need to interact with the young ones, connect with them. Where shall you get them? When you say, I'll not do this, they look for me here and there. So, Faizo, as I conclude, childcare, taking care of children does not depend on how we feel, does not depend on what we see, does not depend on the moment. We should take care. Then, in case there are misunderstandings, I've loved Emmanuel's submission. In case there are misunderstandings, please seek support. Because the fact is, time comes when the two of us cannot agree. Time comes when the two of you cannot talk, cannot speak, cannot dialogue, cannot go into litigation, cannot go into mediation. You need somebody to mediate. And as ManCave here, we normally mention it that as men, we are here.
Reverend Nathan.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please continue.
Yeah, so on the space, we are here for our members. In case it has a lot of friction, the relationship is breaking, and you see children are going to be hurt. Please reach out to us. We can always give in our support. I am here. Papa Herbert is here. Papa Kasenje is here. Papa Newton is here. Mugabe is here. Andrew is here. Faizo is here. We can always support you. We can always mediate. That's why we are here. So that at the end of the day, when children are hurt, remember, children, in most cases, children die when they are still young. These guys that you see getting addicted to drugs, getting addicted to so many things that cannot speak for themselves, these children were broken at a young age. And as a generation, as parents, much as we are not agreeing with my spouse, you cannot afford to raise broken children, because broken children mean that you are going to be a slave forever. Even in your grave, you'll be a slave, because you are going to take care of these children as long as you are alive, and you'll also take care of these children when you're already gone. Therefore, as ManCave, our point is, if there are misunderstandings, please reach out and we support each other to see that children are not hurt. Childcare and support, it is a mandate. Is it okay to take a man or to take a man to court, to take a man to prison and force them? Yes. Actually, as part of my job in the country, part of my job is to arrest men and force them to take care of their children. Can you force me to love my child? Yes, we can force you to love your children. Is it possible that you force me to take care? Yes, it is possible, because at the end of the day, the law has to protect us. I mean, if you have children and you need to be reminded, we can arrest you and force you to take care. We can force you to give child support. You can be forced. That's why the law is there. The law protects all of us. Even me, I am aged, but the law protects me. I mean, somebody else can be forced to take care of me. I mean, that's the law. So it is possible to force, but traditionally, religiously, maturely, we expect that everybody will take care of their responsibility. Otherwise, if one person does not take care of their responsibility, then the rest of us are going to pay. I mean, look at how we are paying for the street children. Look at, I've given my testimony here in Newton. I need to call you and we see how to handle this. Even this night, I mean, a baby was dropped at my gate. Why is a baby being dropped at my gate? The baby has been dropped at my gate. Why? Because maybe a certain man there denied the pregnancy, but they had intercourse. Maybe a certain man there said for them they don't produce. Maybe a certain family did not raise their daughter well, and the daughter cannot distinguish among responsible guys and not responsible. That's why I came in late on the space, because I have been at the police this morning. Why? Because a baby was dropped at my gate. When I was moving out, I saw a baby wrapped in whatever with a note, Reverend, take care of that child. I mean, okay, to clear this, the child does not belong to me. I know the children that I have. Even the mother, I don't know. But now other people are paying, and it is us. It is us that are paying through our taxes, through the taxes that we pay. The taxes that we pay are taking care of children of that sort. The kind of responsibilities that we have that are too much are taking care of such people. Therefore, yes, child support, it is negotiable, paramount, and non-negotiable. A responsible man takes care of their children. How can this man be a leader when they cannot even take care of their own children? How can it be? Therefore, Faizo, child support is there. Can we? I love to bring up the issue of traditional men. Can you force me? Yes, you can be forced. You can be forced, because the law is there to protect us. And I've told you, by the way, one of my jobs is to arrest those guys and make sure that they are forced to take care of their children. One of my jobs is to do litigation and mediation, even in courts of law, such that children can be safeguarded and protected at all costs, without questioning, without negotiating, without anything. But as a pastor, we can counsel, we can guide. As brothers and sisters, we can counsel, we can guide. But when it endangers the safety of the child, then we can force you. Lastly, our dear sisters, women, one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit is discernment. Now, discernment means that we can discern between what is wrong and what is right. Before going in, because we have had quite a number of men, before going in for these men, for us the men, pray that God gives you a spirit of discernment to distinguish. Oleme kugwa ku mufere, you may not land into the confines of a mufere thinking that it is the right person. So discernment is very key, but also self-control is very key. Most of these children that are disputable, some come from relationships that are formal, but others come out of excitement, where I was excited, where I was stimulated, where I was high, I was this, and at the end of the day, these things come out. So we just pray and guide that all of us be responsible, and sex, we transfer sex from being just casual to being sacred, because the consequences of sex are just too much. And if you cannot bear the consequences, please just stay away. Thank you, Faizo.
All right. Thank you so much, Reverend Nathan, for that submission. I will quickly jump to Newton before we lose him. Newton, if you can hear me, kindly just unmute your mic and share your submission.
Thank you very much. Faizo, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
First of all, I'm elated to be here once again. And I've loved the fact that for all this time I've been attending class while putting my other attention to this space. And I've learned a great deal of things. I thought I would contribute from my thought process of a dimension which I think people have not really touched on. I haven't had anyone speak about the spiritual realm that we hobnob with as we intercourse with life. So basically, I'm going to take people on that path, and my prayer is that we will pick lessons as we usually do from the cave. Where does this thing really start? When they say the topic is men and child care, it's as if the topic presupposes that perhaps the child caring will be only with men. And I'm not blaming ManCave. In any case, the title is ManCave, so it will be men and child care, but also women play that very huge role. So I'm even looking for where to start. But let me start like this. In Genesis 3:16, this is where we have for the people who believe in the Bible and for all our Muslim friends who were asked, if you're Muslim, you were asked to follow to read the Torah, and the Torah, that's where you find Genesis and Angel, which are the Gospels. So when I speak about Genesis, I know that I have a communication that will go for over, 4 billion people. That's Muslims and Christians and the like. So I think God's intention was to create man, and he creates him, but then later he sees man unhappy. He gave him everything. He gave him lumonde, he gave him mangoes, he gave him everything, but still man wasn't happy or appeased. So the Bible says he makes him sleep or lay down, and then he formulates the woman. And I'm very interested in the lessons that come from this. So when he gets the woman, the idea is to make him a helper. So the intention for his design was to create someone who will help the man in all essence, for all intent and purposes, to complete the man. So when you need help and they create for you a helper, in other words, you are complete. But notice that when man gets the woman, he exclaims that this is it. This is the flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. So this is it. But it did not stop man from disobeying God, that he was banished and there was sanctions. Now, there is a prediction God makes when he's chasing them out of Eden. He says to the woman, your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. I've tried to do an exegesis of this verse, and this is what actually they are trying to say. That God predicted that man and woman, as long as we stay alive and in companionship with each other, there will always be strife. So notice that when we are in relationships, there is always going to be a power struggle. Who says what? The woman may come to take the power from the man. The man rises to enforce his power on the woman. The woman later comes up. So the idea is there is always going to be strife. So I want to get that and let people know that why is there this strife? And whose interest is this strife? Who benefits from this strife when a woman fights with a man, when a man pulls and the woman pulls, or when the man pushes and the woman pulls? And the answer is in Job 2, where Satan moves to God and God asks him, where have you been? And he says, I've been moving around the earth. And they ask Satan, have you seen Job? And Satan says, yeah, I've seen that man. But that man only praises you because you give him things. You give me that man and I tune him, and you see whether he will still praise you as God. And God allows Satan. From that verse, from that narrative, that's when I realized that God and Satan, they are in the same government. They are in the same government, though they have different agendas. So it follows that while we are on earth, notice that, and I would like you to forgive me. I've started with the Bible, and I'm going to extrapolate all these things and bring them back to life, such that they really, really we relate to them and they make a lot of sense to us. So the fact that Satan talks to God and God allows him to come and disorganize Job, and they told Satan not to kill Job, he comes and disorganizes his wealth. He also disorganizes him by killing. He killed his wealth, killed his kids, and then descended on Job himself with the disease. And the very best verse to know about that is in John 10:10, where they'll tell you that the thief only comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So Satan did all these things to Job. Now, notice that in life, as we live with life, you can be having your life and moving on well, and then a disaster you cannot explain happens to you. But most importantly, disasters come for couples when the kids come into the picture. When you are dating a woman, everyone seems to be happy for you, talking about the good things and all that. But then all of a sudden, when the woman says, I'm pregnant, It's an announcement some men can't even take. She can't even say, I'm pregnant. I missed my P's. When the moment she says, I missed my menses, that's where the high blood pressure starts in the man. So I went and started trying to discover why would the high blood pressure run in a man, especially when they tell him that the woman missed her menses. And I realized that the man finally gets to realize that the movie is over. Because a kid now is in the picture, we are now going into real stuff. Because when a kid comes into the picture, there is this unison, conglomeration that is born. There is now accountability. They will ask you, why is she pregnant when you've not married her? Do you have a house? Do you have a car? Do you have a job? Can you do this? Will she give birth naturally or it will be cesarean? These are all the things that happen. So that's why for a young man who has not been prepared to look after the change that is coming, the young man will take off. So usually people ask, why did you have sex? That you knew that when you have sex, the kid will come. Remember that as male creatures, we are designed to have pleasure from sex. Male creatures, pleasure from sex. It takes you to be a man to start understanding the role of responsibility, the role of you being responsible in society. You have to be a man to know that responsibility is key. But if you've not transitioned into a man, then you stay a male. Then for you move according to program. The software that we have is when you sleep around, you get the pleasure. So the man will now get to know that there is a change. There is fear for the unknown. There is a life change, financial concerns, and all these things. And he will take off. But I want to promise you and let you know that I won't derail you. I would want to let you know why the man will take off. And I also would like to let you know why the woman will have fights with the man in the relationship. You see, the negative forces that we fight as we intercourse with life, the negative forces have been detailed and talked about. Even our grandparents, our forefathers who did not go to school, they at one time got to know that there must be some negative powers that befall man. So the negative forces were later documented in Ephesians 6:11-8. And they said that the negative forces, which are principalities we fight, we have no chance against them. Ladies and gentlemen who are listening to me, we have no power, we have no chance against them. They are too strong. They see through our very plan. And Paul, in trying to tell us how to fight them, he told us we should be with the armor where we hold on to Christ and we hold on to our belief system. But I want to promise you that when you grow up, the negative forces or the principalities have already figured you out and they are not fearing you at all. Their greatest fear is the child. Because when you look at how a child is formed, parents do not design and parents do not manufacture. That's why after 2 weeks, you go to the scan to know whether what is in. After a few weeks, you go to a scan to know whether actually it's a boy or it's a girl, or they are twins or triplets. That is pure confirmation that you have no idea what you put in that stomach. The woman has no idea what she's carrying. So when a child is in the stomach, when the child is developing in the uterus, the negative forces fear the child because the child is carrying all the genes from the paternity lineage and all the genes from the maternity lineage. Remember, the mom comes with the egg, the dad comes with the sperm. Now, that sperm has over 1 billion genes in there. Now, imagine combining them. So that's why you see, you give birth to a kid and you're a short parent. The parents are short, but the kid is tall. The parents are silent, but the kid is talkative. The parents were not sharp, the kid is too sharp. The parents were fearful, but the kid is aggressive. It's because we just are simple beings. So these beings have greatness in them, and the negative forces know about this greatness. So what do the negative forces do? They fight the parents to separate, such that the kids will at least lack. Remember what Stella was telling you, Dr. Stella? She was telling you that she later would realize that actually when you are a single mom, even if you have the money, you will later realize that the kids will need that parentage from the dad. Even the single fathers know that even though they have all the big houses, the posh cars, and and the money. It reaches a time. It reaches a time when the kids need the mother. So the negative forces come to ensure that we separate. Let me just give you an example. Did you know, Faizo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
Did
loud and
you
clear.
know that the 10 richest women in the world today, all their money is through a form of inheritance or a handover from their men? The 10 richest women. So she's the heiress to the empire, or a divorcee, or something like that. The 10 richest. But you could check very many people, and I usually give this example, that in this country, the greatest landlord of all time will always be the king of Buganda. But the king of Buganda has no agreement for buying any land. But he has the land. The land was given to him as a bequest from his forefathers. So you need to know that the wealth of the kids come from the parents being together. The dad, who is the breadwinner, will later write the will and put the kids in the will. So the negative forces know about this agenda. So what they do, they make sure you are not together. And remember, when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. So the message I'm giving people today is that while you are still sober, you need to be aware that when you engage with a woman or you engage with a man and the kid is to be in the picture, you will now need to know that the forces that are coming will only use your partner as an agent. So the man will be a drunkard because the forces know that if he's a drunkard, he will be beating you and you will leave him. When you leave him, they celebrate. Why do they celebrate? The kids will lack the mentorship from the dad. When the woman is eloping, when the woman is promiscuous, the agents, the negative forces use the woman as the agent, such that you say, I cannot stand this promiscuous woman. You will have to let her go, such that you even fight to stay with the kid alone. And what will happen? The kid will miss the love of the mom. So the message I want to convey today, I want people to be aware of this. 1 Samuel 17, verse 56 to 58. That is when David fights Goliath and puts him down. When he puts him down, the questions were simple. They had to take David to the king. So when they take David to the king, I want you to listen to these words. The king said, find out whose son he is. And when David came back from killing Goliath, Abner brought him to King Saul. David was still holding Goliath's head. Saul asked him, this is the king asking, young man, who is your father? David answered, I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem. Now, from time immemorial, kids have been identified with their fathers because it was obvious that the greatness of a boy would be in a way mentored by the dad. So what is happening today? When the fathers separate from the woman, the kids are going to be denied that question from the king, that who is your father? And I'm imploring men to know that the negative forces, when they come, you will need to do whatever it takes such that you stay. When Jesus was to be born, King Herod knew that now this is a disaster. He killed all the young men in Bethlehem. He killed all of them. So I want people to know that when we are to bring kids into this life, it's now no longer only our forces that will be at play. The negative forces will come to separate you, such that the kids will later lack the love from the father, the mentorship from the mother, the mentorship from the dad, and all these things. So what do we need to do? We need to be aware. When we are aware, we start working towards protecting the kids we brought to this life by not always fighting to be right, where we say, let me show her. Because the idea is, like very many previous speakers have mentioned, in that period, everyone wants to show force. Everyone wants to show that they are correct. But you will need, if you've attended this space from today, you will need to know that actually the